Alrighty, and welcome back to our series on Windows Server 2016, the Microsoft Certification 70-740, and we're continuing on our discussion about installing Windows Server. In the last section, we talked about installing the Windows Server itself, and in this video, we are going to talk about, now that it is installed, how do we do the basic customization, the basic configuration of the operating system. The method that we use can oftentimes depend on the version of Windows that we have installed. If we've installed it with the GUI, then we can use the GUI in order to install it. If we installed Server Core, then we have the option to be able to use what's a command line tool called sconfig that comes with Server Core. And then lastly, we can use Windows PowerShell on either of those two options. So let's go ahead and jump onto our first host and see what options are available for us. So here's our first Windows Server. As you can see with the display here, this is in fact the Windows Server with the GUI. Let me go ahead and log into the local machine. Now the first thing I want to do, since I'm on this machine, is I actually want to make the screen a little bit bigger. The default install that I'm at here is running at, I believe, 1024 by 768, and I want to increase that. So I'm just going to right click on the background, go to Display Settings, click Advanced Display Settings, and it says right here my resolution is 1024 by 768. I'm going to go ahead and bump that up all the way up to 1920 by 1080 and apply it. And then keep the changes. Alright, so now that my screen is configured a little bit larger and a little bit more understandable for me to be able to see, now I can configure everything else on this system. First thing I want to configure is the time. I want to make sure that the time is set correctly and with the correct time zone. It's always really important to make sure your time is set correctly. If you don't, you can run into a lot of weird issues later on. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and down here in the lower right hand corner we have our time. I'm going to right click on this, and in the menu that pops up we have Adjust Date and Time. So I'll go ahead and click that, and here we have a nice little configuration window for our date and time. First thing I'm going to look at is my time zone. Is my time zone correct? I just happen to be in the Pacific time zone, so it is perfect for me. Depending on where you are, you will have to change it appropriately. It is configured to set time automatically, so it will try to go out onto the internet and download the time source from the internet using a protocol called Network Time Protocol. If I don't have connections to the internet, or I don't want that automatic connection, I can go ahead and uncheck the set time automatically, and then the change date and time button becomes available. I click on that, and now I can start changing my date, time, month, and so on. I'm going to go ahead and set this back to set time automatically because I want all of my clocks in my organization to have the exact same time on them. And if they're all pulling from the same source online, they're all going to have the same time. The second thing that I want to set up on here, or I guess the third thing now that my resolution and my time zone is set up, is I want to configure the IP address for the network card. There's a couple of different ways you could do this. First off, down here in the lower right hand corner I have my network icon. I can right click on him and open the Network and Sharing Center, and then click on Change Adapter Settings. Or what's becoming my quickly becoming my favorite, I can right click on the Start menu, and I have a Network Connections option here, which takes me exactly where I want to be. So I want to configure Ethernet 0. I can click on this and then click Change Settings, or I can simply right click and go to Properties. Specifically, I want to change my IPv4 addressing. So I'll highlight IPv4, click Properties, and now I have my option for my IP addresses. By default, it says here obtain automatically. So if I am, let me zoom in there a little bit. If I am running DHCP in my environment, then this is the option I want to select. I want it to automatically obtain an IP address. However, if I want to manually change it, then I have to select use the following IP address and type in the IP address I want. And there we go. I've gone ahead, set the IP address, set the subnet mask, the gateway, and the preferred DNS server. Okay, and okay. And now lastly is I need to go ahead and set up my machine onto the domain. So in order to join my machine to the domain, again, I'm going to come back to the start menu. I'm going to right click on it and I'm going to choose System. In System, under Computer Name, Domain, and Workgroup Settings, I'm going to click Change Settings. Now there's a million different ways we could do this. This is my preferred method. There could be other preferred methods as well. System Properties, I'm going to go ahead and click Change. I'm going to give it a new name. I'll just call it Server GUI for now. And then I'm going to type in my domain name. I'll say OK, and the machine will query DNS for this domain name. It will then look to the domain controller, try to authenticate me, asking me for credentials. So I'll go ahead and type in my domain admin credentials and click OK. And after a few seconds, it says, "Welcome to the domain," whatever your domain name is. Will then pop up here again saying you'll need to reboot, or give me a weird error message I've never seen before. Okay, to restart your computer to apply these changes, close and restart now. So my machine's going to reboot, and as it reboots, it's going to join the domain and then come back up and automatically start applying any group policies that are associated with it. And then I will be able to log in with a domain user account. Alright, so by default it tries to log in as the last user that was on here, and the last user that was on here was the local server administrator. I don't want to log in with him, I want to log in as the domain. So down in the lower left I'm going to choose Other User. And it says sign into Test Lab, which is exactly what I want. So the username I'm going to log in with is TestUser1. And it's going to apply the user settings to open up my desktop profile, which is just now creating, and log me into the machine. And there we have it. We have gone ahead, we've configured the basic configuration for our Windows server using the server GUI.